Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Doing Bart Things. In today's decidedly low rent production, I'm going to cover basically a video card that is really weird to me. And I don't really, I don't know, I don't like the way that Nvidia will release different cores for the same video card. It's very, again, it's another one of those, kind of shell games that Nvidia plays a little bit, and it's weird, and I don't like it. I think there needs to be some kind of differentiator with the name of the card to denote, like, hey, this is slightly different than something else. It's not the same. It may perform exactly the same, possibly, but yeah, I'll get into it, and then a little bit of heads up on maybe some prices on some things that Micro Center has some bundle deals I think would be fun to bring up. Just to give you guys kind of general, you know, if you're looking to put a machine together this summer, maybe for a kid going back to school or what have you, just something that might like help you make that decision, and where to go and how to get your hands on something to build, right? Maybe your kid wants to build something. Maybe you don't want to spend a lot of money, like that, basically. And if you happen to have a micro center close by, I've got some things that you may think about that might be good. So anyway, so we'll get into that. But real quick, this video card is so if you don't know, just this last earlier this year, Nvidia released the 40 series Super series, basically like kind of differently specced out versions of the same cards, sort of, that were faster and competed better at the same price point as the previous cards did. Mainly because a lot of their cards just were not selling very well, and so they had to make a change. And it's weird because it wasn't like there was, just blistering competition from AMD. There was some competition from AMD, but it was not like, and still isn't that crazy competition. It's really strange to look at it now and kind of think, well, yeah, of course it's not selling well because nobody believes these cards are worth what you're charging. That's part of it. The people who can hold on and just keep on keeping on are doing exactly that. But anyway, so the 4070 Ti Super is based on, or at least the original release is based on 8103. 8103 is the same core. It's the same chip as the 4080. Okay, the 4080, the 4080 Super, both those cards use 8103, and the 4070 Ti Super also used just a cut down version of 8103. Whereas the 4080 Super was the full 8103 enabled. The 4080 was a slight cut down 8103, and then the 4070 Ti Super was a more cut down 8103 than the 4080. But the 4070 Ti itself was 8104. So it was actually more of a budget core than, and it only supported 12 gigabytes of memory, of VRAM, versus the 16 that 8103 supported. So its bit path, its data bit path, the bandwidth that the card had was cut down, and that's why it sucked. And it kind of didn't sell very well unless they sort of gave it a discount. And it was, there was a lot of arguments against it. It wasn't the worst release Nvidia had. I think the worst release was probably the 4080, just because from the price it was at $1,200, it was just so out of whack that nobody bought it. And the 4060s, my goodness, like, those were a bad release. They tried to charge a lot of money for a card that couldn't beat reliably the card that came before it when it was not using all of its software whiz bang features. So there was that. um, Enter in this card. It's still a 4070 Ti Super, but they're using it to get rid of 8102 dies. Okay. Something similar kind of happened with AMD when they released the GRE version. And basically, AMD cut down the cores off of the 7900 XTX and 7900 XT to make the GRE edition. And they're selling it for like maybe $50 more than the 7800 XT. Which was also a little bit weird, but it's a decent card for like $550. It's, you know, anyway. This card is not that though. Where the similarities end is that it's going to be marketed as a 4070 Ti Super, and there's not going to be any differentiator noted. So what Nvidia has done is they've disabled a massive 9728 CUDA cores, which means basically it's going to be a 4070 Ti Super roughly in performance. But it's weird because it's not the same core. Like if you look here, it's 8102 225 versus 8103 275. The frequency is very close. The dimensions on this card are a little bit different. Now, this is compared to the WindForce card. So that's basically, it's basically the same card for each of the dies, but it's a little bit different. You can see how much longer the WindForce with the new core is. It's considerably longer. It's bigger in width and bigger in height. So they're upping the cooling for this card. And if I'm not mistaken, so 8104 is the budget core. That goes in the 4060 and the original 4070. 8103 is the 4070 Ti Super, the 4080, and the 4080 Super. 8102 is actually the 4090. So they're taking a 4090 core and cutting it way down massively from a 4090. That's pretty intense. To take the 4090 core, which is massive, cut it, in half, I guess, is what they're doing, maybe more than half, and then selling that as another product. That's pretty crazy. So, it's weird. They're trying to, like I said, get rid of those packages, and they're going to sell them at what, $1,000 less almost? Yeah. So this begs the question, how much do we think they've overcharged for the 4090? Because what this is telling me is that they can sell that package for considerably less, right? Which we all knew this. The 4090 is just the fastest card out there. There's not really any debating that. So, but if you can cut it in half and then more than half the price, but the deal is you're not really cutting it all in half, like you're selling the same rough package, okay? You're selling the same die. It came off of the same assembly line, roughly. It's the same process. So you're getting rid of the ones that didn't work out, is what you're doing. it cost you the same to produce them. Um, you're making some money off of them, which, granted, is what everybody does. AMD does this, Intel does this. Anybody that makes chips, they will make the top chip and then use the ones that fail to fill out the rest of their product line. A lot of times, but in the same way that the 4070 Ti Super uses the same package as the 4080, which was $400 more at least. This is actually even crazier. This is over $1,000 less, which tells me, I mean, you probably could have been profitable selling the 4090 at $1,200, $1,400. It's maybe even less. Like maybe the 4090 could have been $1,000 product, and you would have still made profit. The markup on these things is just insane. It really is. I'm not trying to basically besmirch somebody making money. Okay, it's yay capitalism. If you can make a buck, you do so. But there's a certain point at which customers should get wise to your overcharging, and this is the reason why. This is pretty crazy. This is why people get fed up with it, and they decide, I'm going to buy somebody else's video card, and I don't really care if yours is so great, because the extra whatever percentage in performance is just not worth spitting out all of that hard-earned money. I mean, we're in the middle of a really not great economy. I don't think it's going to get better anytime soon, and you guys are able to do an 8102 die at a fairly cheap price. Why is the 4090 so expensive? Why are all of your cards so expensive? It's a little bit alarming. Just gonna say. I don't know what this means for the 50 series, but we'll have to see. Anyway, I thought that was interesting that they're going to sneak a 8102 die into a 4070 Ti Super, and wanted to talk about it for just a minute. All right, let's move it along. Next item up for today. So, going to bag on AMD a little bit. The 7900 XTX, they're not dropping in price. And I get it. They're decent enough video cards, seemingly. But, at some point, I mean, the base ones have dropped a little bit. But, they still want, a decent amount for these. Now, to be fair, the only one that's available here at Micro Center is an open box. I kind of think this is probably the best 7900 XTX that they've made, essentially. But if you look here, let's see. Well, you know what? Some of them have dropped a little bit, but they're still $1,000. I really think they should be at $800. I think if they were, they would kind of get back on track selling. I don't know if AMD has something else planned in the works, so to speak, that they're going to release RDNA 4 maybe here pretty soon, and they're kind of getting rid of stock like that. Maybe that's the thing. If we look up the 7900 XT and we add the GRE to it, and we get rid of the XTX, prices are a bit better. But see, they still want $859 for the base 7900 XT. This is AMD model, right? Which the cooler on this is not the best. Probably it's going to be way louder than these other ones. The GRE models are considerably cheaper. And maybe if you're looking at a 7800 XT, you might consider jumping the $50 to get you one of these, right? 50 or $60 basically. So I don't know. AMD video cards are in kind of a weird spot price wise, because that 7900 XTX, which is the card that people want, because it's the best one, it's probably a little overpriced. The other ones are fairly appropriate, I think, bang to buck. But like that top card is pretty overpriced as well. And AMD is not making a lot of them, seemingly, or maybe this store just hasn't gotten its stock in. But they're not really backing off the price that much. The base model 7900 XTX, if memory serves, is the Hellhound, and it's about $900. Yeah. So you can get a Hellhound or you can get an ASRock Phantom, $900, right? There's Asus going, I'm going to charge $100 more than that because I think I'm Asus. XFX is $20 more than that. So, do with that with what you will. But yeah, video cards, the top end video cards are they're expensive. That's just what it boils down to. Now, happy 4th of July. If you're looking at buying and building this summer, if you have a Micro Center nearby, something to keep an eye on. So, I didn't realize this, but not only do they have the CPU, motherboard, and memory bundles, which I would probably go with this, the 7800 X3D, if I was just building a normal system and wanted something that gamed well, say for a kiddo or myself. 7800 X3D is probably the juice there. You go with something obviously less expensive, which is 5800 X3D is a pretty good chip, and you get all three of that for $349. That would be pretty decent, even though it's getting a little long in the tooth. I think this is probably the sweet spot ish, but the aforementioned 7900 XT, you can get a video card in a bundle now. So for $1,1200, you get your CPU, your motherboard, your memory, and your video card. That's not bad. Throw a power supply, a case, and storage, and you're done. You've built your machine, like basically. Well, you need a cooler, so find a way to cool that CPU. Maybe you need some fans and stuff. But anyway, you're going to be for that, unless you go ham, you're going to be well under $2,000, right? You're going to be 1,600, 1,800, maybe something like that. You're going to keep it to that kind of budget, probably with either one of these. This one's going to be the 7900X is going to be a little bit more expensive. I would not buy this combo over this combo. That doesn't make any sense to me. Unless you're doing work. If you're doing work and you need CPU threads, then obviously the 7900X is a better deal. That's 12 threads, 12 cores, 24 threads versus 8 cores, 16 threads, right? So if you need the extra threads, the 7900X is probably your bag. And by threads, it's like more processing power for stuff. Like so basically Windows is going to see this as 16 cores and Windows is going to see this as 24 cores to arrange for resources. But if you're gaming or you're just generally using, you're never going to notice the difference, and 700 X3D is probably better, in my estimation. But another thing to factor, and this is crazy to me when they put all this together. Okay, same deal, right? But you can get a 14700K, a motherboard, 32 gigs of RAM for $549, or you can get a 12600KF, a motherboard, memory, and an A770 GPU for $500. Okay, That's a lot of stuff for a pretty low price. If you're not looking to build the craziest machine ever, this is going to do you just fine, right? If you just need a PC and you kind of want to do some gaming, you want to do some things on it, and you have a budget that's restrictive, you want to do it inside of $1,000, this will get you there. And that's not a bad system. I mean, the A770, you need to do your research and find out if this video card is going to work for you. But it's that top of the line A770 with the 16 gigs of VRAM, so that's great. 16 gigs of RAM is going to do you for now. A 12600KF, 16 gigs of DDR4. Again, get your case, cooler, and power supply. For this, I would recommend a 750 or an 850 watt power supply for future proofing. I would get an air cooler. I'd probably get like a tower cooler. You could go online and buy like the Arctic, what is it, 36, I think. That actually has a direct die cooler to get the best out of that if you wanted to do that. Or just look at Thermalright. Their coolers are amazing for their price. I think you can get a 360 mil AIO from Thermalright. That's a good one. It's called the Edge for $56. Something to consider. Get yourself either a Montech or one of the Lee & Lee cases to throw this into. Good to go. I mean, you're going to be able to enjoy that system for a while before you are really that worried about an upgrade if you're just a normal user. If this combo had been around when I was looking at buying my daughter a machine, I probably wouldn't have upgraded myself and given her my old stuff. I probably would have built this. Because it's, I mean, maybe I would have built 2 of these. And just given her one and taken one for myself. And kind of gone about my day. It would have been cheaper. So this is something to kind of keep in mind. That's not bad. But again, the one caveat is this video card. I would go look up things that you do and make sure that this video card is going to work for you. Because obviously you're going to want to make sure that there's drivers out there and whatnot. But by and large, for 85-90% of everybody, maybe even 95% of everybody, it's going to work great. As a matter of fact, Intel Arc has come a ways. The drivers have come to the point where if you're doing professional apps, it might be the thing to use, honestly. So I would definitely just take a look at that. If you're looking to save a buck, you have an all built together package there that is really pretty good. 12600KF, not a bad CPU. It will definitely get you where you need to go, more than likely. Yeah, so pretty strong. And then basically, what you do is down the line when you're ready to upgrade, maybe in a year or two, you just take the motherboard and CPU out, you resell those, and you put a new motherboard and CPU in with memory, and you're on your way, right? So I would honestly, I would overspend a little bit on the case and the fans and everything. I would get like a setup maybe that's a little bit over what this is or what you expect to have in the future, and then you're set, right? You're going to be in your pattern where you're just upgrading motherboard and CPU and memory, and maybe video card once in a while. But your actual case, power supply, that sort of stuff, you're all good. Okay, last up for today. Well, no, we're still talking about the same subject. That's right. I pulled this up. Be aware that some sites will have Independence Day sales as well. Newegg is not really my favorite place these days. I really prefer to kind of go to Micro Center, but you can still get bundle deals there. Like if you look, they've got a 12700KF, the Z790 motherboard from Gigabyte, and some memory for $430, which isn't bad. You can still build a bundle out on Newegg if you need to. Same kind of deal with the bundle here, but Micro Center is probably a little cheaper. You could probably get this a little cheaper, like they have the ability to go to more options, and then you can modify your bundle on Newegg, right, which is pretty good. So just be aware of that. You can play around with this. So if this motherboard is too expensive, you can kind of trash it and then select. They'll give you some motherboards to choose from. Say you're just wanting something to get you where you need to go. Click on that, and then now your subtotal is like only $390, right? So you've saved a little bit of money. But anyway, you can play with that, and it'll actually let you build out your entire system with what they have on special, right? That they can combo with you. So it's actually pretty neat. That's something to consider looking at. You can still go out to PC Part Builder, but I don't think PC Part Builder takes into consideration their bundle offers on Newegg. So, well, that's it. That's the video for today. Hopefully this has been helpful as far as buying advice goes. Like I said, Newegg, I don't know. They're fine. Like you can buy your stuff there is okay. But it's if you want to build it yourself is the whole deal. Maybe I'll try to do some sort of guide on pre-builts, like a place that you can go and get a custom built PC already assembled, and see if I can, kind of give some ideas on where to go for your budget, that kind of thing. But I will say, I'm really glad that we can still come out and buy parts and put it together ourselves and put it in whatever kind of case we want with whatever fans we want, and sort of do our own thing. I think it's great. I hope it never ends, that we're allowed to do this. But someday, you never know. It may just be, well, everything's just a chip now, so you just choose your chip and then that's it. So hopefully not for a long time. Anyway, everybody have a great 4th of July, and we will see you guys in the next one.